Investors rushing back into the property market. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my morning stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article from Domain because frankly I think it is a perfect example of cherry picking to create some news or create an article. Melbourne auctions, investor beats first home buyers. In Northcote, pays $120,000 over reserve. Once again, it's a story about someone paying over reserve, and it's investors beating the first home buyer. So they get that, they get the first home buyer search term in there, boom, and then investors are flooding back in. We can jump to whole conclusions based on this, this one data result. And I like it here that there's actually a recording about explaining auction clearance rates here from Domain. Now, if you're not familiar with auction clearance rates, before you look at anything from Domain, go to my website, says.heise.com.au, and you can see here recent articles. And I wrote this up, actually wrote up an article for a change. And I went through here based on data provided by the team at Fresh Canvas, where they data mine the auction data. They data mined the websites so we could compare auction results from what they published from what actually happened. The trick is, a lot of real estate agents, now I know this might shock you, a lot of real estate agents don't like admitting to failure. So they don't report when their property's been passed in. So there's always a positive bias on results. So you can have a look here and you can download the Excel files and see the numbers yourself. Then have a look at the video here from Domain and everything else that's being reported about auction clearance rates. You'll become a little bit more skeptical and cynical about what's being published, and you will probably get some grey hairs, but that's just part of life, everyone. So let's have a look at this. Do you think this is cherry picking, or do you think this is a sign that investors are flooding back to the market to take advantage, willing to pay $100K over reserve? Yeah. The fresh outbreak of the virus didn't deter keen buyers in virus hotspot council areas, with 6 bidders putting up their hands at a Northcote auction and another 3 parties vying for a Brunswick home on Saturday. In Northcote, 13 buyers registered to bid on a recently renovated 2-bedroom terrace, with 6 of them weighing in at the auction. It was one of 510 auctions scheduled in Melbourne on Saturday. 510. By evening, Domain Group had recorded a preliminary clearance rate of 59.4% from 355 reported results, and 42 were withdrawn. So here's the thing. There were 510 auctions and they only have 355 results. Look how many were withdrawn. I wonder what happened to the others. And that's a pretty low clearance rate, everyone. That's a pretty low clearance rate. The home at 15 Latham Street had been hugely popular, McGrath auctioneer and listing agent Luke Brizzy said. We had 140 plus groups through. It was incredible, he said. But it goes to show there's massive demand out there, and the lack of stock is driving demand through the roof. So here's the question, everyone. We're facing a recession that we haven't had in 30 years, pretty much. Unemployment is shooting up, everyone. Unemployment is shooting up. No matter which way you look at it, which methodology you use. Job ads have plummeted. International tourism is non-existent. Interstate tourism is dead. IMF is predicting 7,000 businesses in tourism alone to go under. Education sector is in turmoil. They're trying to push through industrial relations to make it easier for businesses and people to work. And yet apparently prices on housing is still going up. Is Australia different? Are we just that special? Are we that special? Are houses going to shoot up even more, everyone? Or is this just, we're just not seeing reality because there's still all these interventions. There's still the JobKeeper. There's still the Job Seeker Plus. There's still mortgage holidays. What'll happen in September? Will the person paying $100,000 now still be happy in January next year? Or $100,000 over? That's the question. Why would you rush to go in now? Maybe it's to get something before the end of financial year. Maybe there's tax implications or other reasons that aren't being highlighted in this article that's pushing them. Maybe it's someone the 100 grand isn't that much of a loss, or they can factor it in. Could that be what's happening, everyone? But that's not how it's being painted. It's being painted as the war between investors and first home buyers. Quick, get those 5% only home deposits now. That's kind of scary. The thing that really worries me about that 5% home loan guarantee is it's going to push people who have, maybe 10% saved, rather than holding to get 20% and going in. They're going to take the jump and buy something more expensive than they would have. That's the concern. I need a coffee with that one. A crowd had gathered outside the home during the open for inspection. The auction opened below the quoted price range of 1 million to 1.5 at 980,000. So what I will bring up here is the Property Council data room, everyone. And we can just see. So we're talking about Melbourne here. Let's get an understanding of what ballpark we're looking at. We'll go for residential. And you can see there's a whole lot of data here that you can go to. My beautiful internet is going so wonderfully fast. NBN with the speed upgrade, 100 megabit, sure. Sure, let's look at the median residential house value. And in Melbourne, the median is 727,000. So we're already looking at a house that is definitely higher than the median. It sold to an investor for 1.1 million, so 102,000 more than its reserve price. The rest of the underbidders were first home buyers. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they just need to be in the area. $1 million for a first home? Everyone? I'm actually really liking Brisbane. I'm glad my family moved up from Victoria when I was a kid, and we settled on the Gold Coast. Probably would have been better to settle in Brisbane, but still, sure, I've got a fixer-upper. Sure, I'm recladding a wall now, doing a lot of work on this place, but I'm happy I don't have $1 million mortgage. Thanks to everyone for advice on what nail gun to buy. I went out there, I had a look at all the recommendations, went to Total Tools, saw all the prices, and I decided I'm just going to use a hammer. I decided I'm just going to use a hammer, everyone. A hammer and nails. I'm too cheap. I can't do it. I can't spend, because you get the cheap ones for $100, but a decent one, $400 to $500. When I got a 30-year-old hammer, that I'll just hit it in. But we'll see. We'll see how I go. We'll see. Anyway, back to this. Back to the first home buyers that are bidding $1 million on a house. He said the market looks set to absorb the shock of the pandemic outbreak when pent-up demand dissipates. It'll stay there for a couple of months, but we'll see what happens in spring with the economy, he said. Exactly. That's it. Even the agent here is, you don't blame him. They want to get the best deal for their client. They want to sell. They want to get a high result. That's good. Good news for them. Good news for their client. Good news for people selling right now. But what I don't understand is why people are jumping now and why people aren't waiting a few months. Can someone explain that to me? Is it just the news that I'm absorbing and reading? Or is there such a demand people can't bear to wait? Or they're trying to get in with that the home buyer, the 25 grand? Is that what's pushing them over the edge? Doesn't make sense if you're paying that much, but it's an investor, so it wouldn't have been there. See, what's happening is these first home buyers, they're coming there, they're getting the 25 grand, so that's each pushing them all up above their 25,000. So it's pushing up the cost of the property to the investor because they're all competing with him now a lot higher than they would have. That means he's going to have to up the rent, or she, and property prices go up. Earlier in Brunswick, a 2-bedroom deceased estate failed to sell at auction despite 3 bidders contending for the keys. The terrace house had been listed for sale with a quoted price guide of $800 to $850. So what was the bids? Well, there you go. See, this is more realistic. It's just above the median, which is 727 here in Melbourne. So, it looks like a nice house. Nice little one. I like the little detail there. Even a lot of these older houses, the pressed aluminium or the tin on the ceiling, there's only one place that can do it. We put it on a project we did in Mary Street, and it had to come from Adelaide. So Australians still manufacture something, but the manufacturer. I actually went down there and visited the factory. It looked beautiful. And he just managed to get the presses. He saved them from somewhere else going to the dump. That's kind of the sad thing, isn't it? Ahead of the auction, Walshy and Whitlock listing agent Michael Sosby said there'd been about 50 groups to the property during the campaign, and young buyers were interested in renovating the dated and rundown home. That's the smart way to do it, guys. Buy a fixer-upper. Buy a fixer-upper. Fix it up, paint it. Work on it. We'll see. We'll see if I keep saying that at the moment. I took a window out yesterday. Got to put a new one in. So get slowly but surely. Proceedings began at 700k, and it was slow going. After taking one bid of 20 grand, auctioneer David Sousby began accepting lower increments from 3 bidders, finally passing the home in at 745 after subdued bidding. The top bidder went inside to negotiate and declined to buy the property at the reserve of 800. An agreement between the estate and the buyers couldn't be reached. So it's funny how this isn't the title, isn't it? We need to see more of these. Earlier in Flemington, a 2-bedroom townhouse sold in post-auction negotiations. Nelson Alexander, auctioneer and listing agent Ryan Curry, said he had 2 buyers lined up for the 563 Crown Street. One dropped out after buying a property early in the day, but he held the auction anyway. The only bidder, she wanted to buy it, and we wanted to be transparent. The auction began at 720 and passed in at 761 after a few genuine and vendor bids. How can you do a vendor bid? Can you bid for your own property? Anyway, the whole idea of auctioning houses just seems ludicrous to me, but that's just a Queensland thing, I think. The buyer paid $777,000 for the home. There you go. Mr. Curry said the sellers had held the property for years since developing the block, but were freeing up capital for a tree change. Funny that. With this whole pandemic thing, it's forcing people to make sea and tree changes earlier, he said. They're saying, why not just do it now and get moving with it? In Albert Street, a 3-bedroom terrace passed in and sold after auction 2. The home at 101 Ashwood Street had interest from multiple parties, and bidding took place a short distance from 1.4 to 1.43. The quoted price range was 1.4 and 1.45. It sold post-auction to 1.48 to a home buyer. Property Maven's chief executive, Marima Sandkula, watched the sale and said buyers appeared to be sitting on their hands. There were other interested parties, but there were a lot of people sitting and watching, she said. They think they'll be able to pick up a bargain in September if the bottom falls out of the market, but in these areas, vendors will just wait and ride it out. We'll have to see, everyone. Because what we have here is we've got a whole bunch of examples of people well above the median price in Melbourne, in good areas. Will they be able to wait and buy it out? I mean, how can she make that claim? Did they wait through the last recession? What if they're mortgaged to the hilt? What if it's like the project manager and her husband that are depending on the bank holiday to get through? What do you think, everyone? A bit of cherry picking? It's interesting how they went with the over reserve and not the properties passed in. We'll have to see. I think a lot of people will wait and see what happens. We're getting a few cherry-picked examples of people rushing. Some people with plans already in place. Others just waiting and watching, enjoying the journey. As always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. What are you planning to do? If you're a fan of the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon for a small monthly fee. You can support us via using our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or you can support us via PayPal. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.